Our Marlins right now are in the World Series. Today we've got games 3 and 4 back at home against the Minnesota Twins, coming off an interesting start in the last episode in games 1 and 2. We ended up splitting them, winning the first game and losing the second one, so we tied the series up at 1. It's now a best of 5, and we have home field advantage. The first game we ended up winning 6-2. The pitching was really good, a strong start from Edward Cabrera per usual. And on offense, we were really clutch with runners on base, which has been the issue with this team since the very start of this series nearly 100 episodes ago. Then game 2 was certainly different. Things started off rocky. We allowed 4 runs in the first 2 innings. Casey Mize was not looking good, but we clapped back. We got 4 of our own. We tied it. The bullpen was looking really strong. And then Carlos Correa in the bottom of the 8th inning hits a solo homer, his second of the ball game, to put the Twins up 5-4, which they ultimately ended up winning by that score, with Felix Bautista finishing the game in the 9th. Both bullpens were really solid in each of those games, and overall throughout the entirety of the World Series through the first 2 games, the bullpens have been really, really strong. I'm curious to see which team will be able to step up here in games 3 and 4. Both teams are going to be going with the middle of their rotation starters. A real opportunity for these offenses to step up, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get guys who are able to step up when the lights are the brightest. Luis Severino will get the start here in Game 3. Our Game 4 starter is currently undecided, and it'll likely depend on how we do here in Game 3. So let's get this show on the road, back at home. The World Series returns to Miami for the first time since, last year, where we lost in Game 7 in this building. And obviously it's been a tough road back, but we return home for the World Series with Games 3, 4, and 5. In an ideal world, we win the next 3. We win the World Series at our place. But unless either team wins 3 in a row, the World Series would end in Minnesota, since the Twins have home field advantage for reasons that I'm not sure of, considering we had the same record, we were the same seeds in our respective conferences, and we won the head-to-head all the way back in April. Let's take a look at both lineups. Interestingly, for the Marlins, they will start James Wood in the outfield instead of Kevin Alcantara. James Wood has been playing really, really well, and I want to give him more of an opportunity, and I think he's earned it here in the World Series. As for Luis Severino, he's been really solid in 3 postseason starts, ERA at 2.6, WHIP at 1.1, and a record of 1-0, looking to get his second win. Severino's pitched in a lot of big games throughout his career, but has never made it to the World Series until, this year. Against Correa, swinging a miss on the circle change, and Luis Severino quickly retires the side here in the top of the first as we go to the bottom half of the inning, and we take a look at another solid veteran, Cal Quantrill, who gets to start for Minnesota. He has not been so good here in the postseason this year. ERA at 7.2, WHIP above 2.3, same amount of walks as strikeouts. I mean, he's been kind of a disaster, but he's still a very solid starter. Was in Cleveland's rotation when they won the World Series a few years ago. So let's see what he can do here as he starts with MJ Melendez, who rips a single into left. Melendez performed well in each of the first 2 games of the World Series in Minnesota, and he's off to a good start here, hitting at the top of the order today. 2 gone now and a full count for Woody Landry, and he puts this one on the ground. Flipped over by Kirilloff over to the pitcher, Quantrill. What a defensive play at first base by Alex Kirilloff. I'm not sure why he's choosing to get cute in the World Series, but still a cool play nonetheless. No score, we move into the second. Byron Buxton up for the Twins, and he goes down on the high fastball, coming in at 96. Nice pitch by Severino. He looks pretty good so far. Now against Brendan Rodgers with 2 gone, the 3-2, and that ball's high. Tough one to lay off, just barely above the strike zone, but Rodgers will take it. That'll bring up the switch-hitting catcher, Chase Gentry. He's behind 1-2, and he hits it well into left. Going to be a tough play, and De La Cruz will make the grab. 2 no-hit innings so far for Luis Severino. He looks pretty good up to this point. So far, not much going offensively either way. We'll see if the Marlins can get something going here in the second. Jesus Sanchez leads things off. He's been a little bit inconsistent throughout the postseason, but he's able to take a walk here and the Marlins open up the inning with a base runner. That'll bring up Brian De La Cruz. Quiet to start the World Series, but he's still overall on a hot streak coming off the end of the NLCS as he shoots this one into the gap. Sanchez makes it to third, and the Marlins get runners on the corners with nobody out. Quite an opportunity to get some damage done. Let's see what the bottom of the order can do, and that starts with James Wood, who's done well in every opportunity this year, and he comes up big again. Single into center, run scores, bad throw from Buxton, a rarity, and so it's 1-0 with an RBI single from James Wood. That'll bring up the third baseman, Jacob Berry. Still nobody out, by the way, as Berry checks his swing. Umpire says he went around. Berry was aggressive. He didn't see the pitch coming in low, and Cal Quantrill's able to fool him for a big out. 2 gone now. It's back to the top of the order. MJ Melendez, and he goes down on the fastball. The Marlins do get one. It's a good inning off the RBI single by James Wood. I feel like they could have gotten more, though. They had 2 guys on with nobody out, and the 1-0 lead as we move into the top of the third. Kenny Felsch, the leadoff man who homered in Game 2, goes down looking. 3 no-hit innings for Luis Severino. He only allowed the 1 walk to Rogers so far, looking dominant for the Marlins up to this point as we go into the bottom of the third. Miami possibly looking to add to the lead. Full count for Isaac Stu. Ooh, that's a tough one. It's low and it's barely in the strike zone. Got him looking. Quantrill's third of the game. Now against Woody Landry, again 3-2, and Landry skies this one high and deep into center. Buxton at the track, at the wall, and he makes the catch! What an impressive grab by Byron Buxton. A backhanded snag as it remains 1-0. All things considered, Cal Quantrill really hasn't been that bad, minus the rough start to the second inning as we move top 4. Full count for Byron Buxton. He gets plunked. Some tensions here possibly going on between the 2 teams. And so the speedster is aboard. That'll bring up Kirilloff, who pops it up into foul territory. MJ Melendez is under it, and he will make the play. That's 4 no-hit innings, although I guess the Twins technically do have a hit in the sense of one of their batters getting hit, but no base hit so far. Severino looks like he's made for the moment. You know who else is? James Wood rips this one into the opposite field as it goes off the wall. His second hit of the game. The Marlins as a team only have 4 base hits, and he's got half of them. A 2-out double for James Wood. And the Marlins have one of their faster base runners in scoring position. Wood drove in the first run. Can he score the second one? It's Jacob Berry at the plate. Rips it down the line and foul. That would have drove him in if it just barely was able to stay fair. But unfortunately, it's not to be. Following pitch, 2-2. And Berry grounds this one. Kirilloff with another nice play. He makes the throw over to Cal Quantrill. And so it remains a 1-0 ball game. Still got a very tight pitcher's duel here in Miami. The Twins still looking for their first hit of the game. Brendan Rodgers walked in his first at bat. This time he goes down looking on the circle change. Great pitch by Sevy, who's showing no signs of slowing down. 2-2 now for Chase Gentry. And he rips it into right. Finally, the Twins get their first hit of the game. It took them basically half of the ball game, but they do finally get their base hit with Gentry, the young catcher hailing from the Great Britain. That'll bring up third baseman Joel Miranda. 1-1. Gentry looks to steal second. Melendez got him! Part-time ball player, full-time sniper. I do not know why Minnesota sent him. They've barely gotten base runners all day. You got to cherish the guys who are on base, not have them immediately ran out. Miranda with a sharp liner to second. 95 off the bat, but Khalil Watson's at the right place at the right time, and the rookie's able to make a nice play to wrap up the inning. That's 5 scoreless for Luis Severino. The Twins do get a hit, but that runner was also thrown out, looking to steal second as it remains 1-0. Cal Quantrill still looking solid, although the pitch count is steadily rising as MJ Melendez singles into center field, and the Marlins get themselves another base runner. From there, the Twins are going to make an interesting pitching change, bringing Evan Fitterer, a former Marlins prospect, into the game. He's pitched in 3 games in his major league career, 2 of which have been in the World Series, and all 3 of them have been a disaster. I do not know what the Twins see in this guy because he has been abysmal every time they've had him pitch, which, again, has not been often. That in of it itself should probably be a concern. His first batter, Jazz Chisholm, crushes it into right field, flips the bat as it goes into the second deck, and the Marlins lead it 3-0. Jazz Chisholm with just his second home run of the postseason, and Miami adds to their lead here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Right when they bring Evan Fitterer in the game is when the Marlins go deep. I, for one, am absolutely surprised. Who would have seen that one coming? Jazz Chisholm Euro steps to home plate as he gets a World Series dinger. Woody Landry now is up. He hits this one well into center field. Buxton at the track, at the wall. It's caught. Another nice backhanded grab by Byron Buxton, but not before Jazz Chisholm sends a 2-run tank into right field. The Marlins add to their lead. It's now 3-0. As let's see if Luis Severino can continue this shutout for a little while longer. Into the 6th, it's Brooks Lee, the switch-hitting third baseman, former high draft pick a few years ago, and he goes down on the fastball. That'll bring us back to the top of the order. It's Kenny Felsch, who's behind 1 and 2, and he strikes out as well. Another strikeout for Luis Severino, as that'll bring us to Luis Gonzalez. Count is even at 1-1, and Gonzalez hits it to short. Jazz Chisholm looks to make the play. Throw to first is not in time. An infield single for Gonzalez. The Marlins were a little slow to get to that ball. We'll see if it backfires as Carlos Correa is able to draw a walk. Now there's 2 on. Interesting opportunity here for Byron Buxton. Maybe the biggest at bat of the World Series so far. And Byron Buxton delivers into left field. That one is gone. We're tied at 3. And just like that, with one swing of the bat, everything changes. Buxton with his first home run of the entire postseason, and the Minnesota Twins are on the board. They tie it up, all because of an infield hit and a walk. Luis Severino was pitching so well, and then things start to spiral out of control a little bit. And then Byron Buxton rips this one into left. The Marlins wanted to keep Severino in the game. They felt like with how good he has been, he'd be able to make it through 6, but he allows the homer to Buxton, and he'll be taken out. Overall, a really strong performance here from Luis Severino. He was brilliant for most of the outing, but then kind of fell apart there at the end. Reynaldo Lopez will come out of the bullpen to replace him. Lopez has some AL Central experience against the Twins, having played for both the Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians. He's allowed 4 runs in 5 postseason innings, so he really hasn't been all that effective here in October. But let's see what he can do against Alex Kirilloff. 3-2. Hit sharply past the diving glove of Jazz Chisholm, and the hits are going to keep on coming for Minnesota, whose offense has had nothing going all day until all of a sudden here with 2 outs in the 6th. It's like they're an entirely new team. Brendan Rodgers now up for the Twins. 2-2. Swing and a miss on the curveball. Big inning, though, for the Twins. They get 3 with a gigantic home run by Byron Buxton as we move to the bottom of the 6th. Runner on, 2 away for Jacob Berry. Rips it into right. And a 1-hop off the wall. That's Jesus Sanchez on his high horse. He reached off of the base hit earlier as he's safe at home. It looked like he could have been out had the throw been on target from the second baseman, Brendan Rodgers. It's a giant RBI double for Jacob Berry, and the Marlins lead 4-3. That'll bring up Khalil Watson, who pops it up. Rodgers should make the catch, and he will. Still overall a positive inning for Minnesota, but the Marlins do get their lead back with the RBI double by Jacob Berry, scoring Jesus Sanchez, as it's now 4-3. Both offenses have really gotten hot after a slow start, and let's keep the hits coming. Jose Miranda, base hit into center. The Marlins are going to keep Reynaldo Lopez into the game. I'm curious to see how short of a leash he has. Brooks Lee now. Got him looking on the fastball. That pitch right on the outside corner at the zone, but it was in there. Kenny Felsch now up for the Twins. Rough day for him, 0 for 3, as he sends it into left. De La Cruz will make the catch. A diving grab by Brian De La Cruz. That'll wrap up the top of the 7th. A great defensive play here by De La Cruz. The Marlins' outfield defensively has been unbelievable throughout the entire postseason. Why not keep it going here? Nino Cabral comes in out of the bullpen here for the Twins. He's allowed 5 runs in 7 1/3 postseason innings thus far as he faces off against Jazz Chisholm with the big home run in his last at-bat back in the 5th inning. And he goes down to the high fastball. He wanted to be aggressive with the full count. Should have taken the walk, but instead he strikes out. Isaac Stu now, full count. Stu hitting from the right side of the plate here with Cabral now being a lefty, as this one is popped up barely in fair territory, and it'll be caught by Kirilloff. With 2 innings to go, it's anybody's game. The Marlins lead at 4-3. It's time for the back-end bullpen of death to hopefully finish off the Twins. Johan Duran, the former Minnesota Twin, comes in here for the 8th inning. He's allowed 3 runs in 8 postseason innings. Hasn't been dominant, but also hasn't been bad by any stretch, as he faces off against Luis Gonzalez. Hit sharply to first. Landry with a nice scoop up. He's got to beat the runner, though. And he does. Gonzalez had an infield hit in his last at-bat, and he was able to score off of it. We didn't want that happening again. Buxton had the big homer for Minnesota, but he strikes out of the 12-6. So Johan Duran retires the side. Let's see if the Marlins can finish things off, going into the bottom of the 8th up by 1. Giovanni Moran will come in for Minnesota, another talented lefty. Moran has allowed 2 runs in 8 postseason innings as he starts with Woody Landry. Got him looking on the fastball. That's a really nice pitch. Woody's been inconsistent against lefties this year in the regular season as well as in the postseason. Jesus Sanchez, oddly enough, has been better against lefties in the playoffs, but he looks at the slider. That was a really good pitch to hit, too. I think he thought that was going to be high and inside, but it curves into the strike zone. De La Cruz grounded to short. Carlos Correa makes the play. And so Moran gets through the inning pretty easily as it's 4-3 and we go into the top of the 9th. Emmanuel Clase is in for the save. Has Clase been good at all in the postseason? No, not one bit. It's only a 1-run game. Can the Marlins trust him to finish things off as Kirilloff pops it into left? There's 1. Brian De La Cruz is able to make the play. That'll bring up Brendan Rodgers. He's behind 1 and 2. Chases the slider. Great pitch by Emmanuel Clase, who's faced off against Minnesota many times in his career, of course, being with Cleveland for close to a decade. Chase Gentry now, full count, game on the line. He fouls off the cutter. That would have been a walk had he taken it. The tying run could have been on base for Minnesota, but if nothing else, he does protect. He keeps the game alive. 3-2 again. Popped up into foul territory. Landry under it. Marlins win game 3 by the final score of 4-3. A very competitive game here, but the bullpen is able to slam the door, and the Miami Marlins lead the World Series 2-1. Job's not finished, though. 2 down, 2 to go. We've just got to win 2 of the next 4 games, and we're World Series champs as we get the job done here at home with a very strong start from Luis Severino. He allowed the big home run to Byron Buxton, but other than that, Minnesota's offense was very blah today. Our offense wasn't really spectacular either, but we did get the job done when we needed to. The big homer by Jazz Chisholm in the 5th inning, Jacob Berry's RBI double in the 6th, ultimately proves to be the difference as Miami wins with only 8 hits, only 13 hits combined. Neither offense really did all that, and again, other than the Buxton home run, Minnesota's offense did literally just about nothing. The decision that made Minnesota lose the game was bringing Evan Fitterer in to pitch. I do not see what the deal is with him. Prior to the World Series, he pitched in 1 game in his big league career. I just don't get it. That'll bring us into Game 4, and the Marlins have an interesting dilemma in terms of who they're going to pitch today. Last year in the World Series, the Marlins trailed 2-1. They felt like they needed to trot Edward Cabrera out in order to keep the series alive, which they did, and Cabrera led them to a Game 4 win against the Tampa Bay Rays. This year, the Marlins lead the series 2-1. There's a little bit less desperation, but there's still an argument to rock with Cabrera here because he's shown that he can pitch with 3 days rest. So realistically, if you have him go tonight, you could also have him off of 3 days rest pitching Game 7. The Marlins ultimately will not choose to do that. However, it'll be Max Meyer who gets to start. Miami's going to roll with the regular rotation, and it looks like Edward Cabrera will get the start in Game 5 regardless of what happens tonight. We'll talk more about the decision shortly as we take a look at both lineups. Again, James Wood starting in place this time of Jesus Sanchez, who will likely come in off the bench, and we're going to choose to bring him in strategically. So here is Max Meyer, who in 2 postseason starts has quietly been really good. 2.25 ERA, .67 whip. Meyer finally gets an opportunity to pitch in the World Series he didn't get to last year as he strikes out Luis Gonzalez on the high fastball. Not necessarily a must-win game for Minnesota, but this is as close as it gets. If they trail 3-1 with Cabrera pitching in Game 5, they could be in a lot of trouble. Carlos Correa, with 2 away, draws the walk, and Minnesota gets a runner. We'll see if Byron Buxton can look to drive him in and put the Twins on the board. He doesn't. Goes down on the fastball, and Meyer makes it through 1 pretty easily, allowing a walk and no further damage. Starting here for Minnesota in their biggest game of the year is going to be the talented young righty Simeon Woods Richardson. He's been pretty solid in the postseason as well. 1-1, 2.92 ERA in just over 12 innings, and a very low whip. He's only allowed 9 base runners, just 7 hits, and 2 walks across the month of October as he strikes out Kevin Alcantara, who goes down on the changeup. Good pitch there by Woods Richardson for out number 1. Jazz Chisholm had the big homer in the last game. Rips this one down the opposite field and fair as it rolls all the way to the wall. Jazz Chisholm makes it to second with a double, and the Marlins are quickly in business. They've got a runner in scoring position and a great opportunity to strike early here in Game 4. With 2 away and Jazz at second, it's Woody Landry who hits a sharp liner into center, and Byron Buxton will make the play at the wall. Woody Landry has had like 3 super hard hit balls into center today, and none of them have been able to drop. Just barely not reaching the fence, along with the fact that Byron Buxton's one of the rangiest outfielders in the league as we move into the second. Alex Kirilloff gets this one past the diving glove of Luis Rengifo. And the Twins open up the inning with a base runner of their own, their first hit of the night. The Marlins rocking with the open roof today after going closed in Game 3 as Brendan Rodgers goes down looking. That's Meyer's 3rd punch out of the game. Miranda now into right. That one's going to drop. Runner makes it to 3rd. And now the Twins have a really interesting opportunity here. They've got 2 runners on the corners, 2 away. Big at bat here for the 9-hole hitter, that being Brooks Lee, the switch hitting 3rd baseman. And he hits it solidly into left, especially considering it was outside the strike zone. But Kevin Alcantara comes down with it, and Max Meyer gets out at the jam. Minnesota leaves 2 runners aboard, and we've still got a scoreless tie. Let's move into the bottom of the second. Can the Marlins get any runs here? MJ Melendez up, and he strikes out on the low changeup. Strong start so far for Simeon Woods Richardson in his first World Series appearance. No score through 2. Could be looking at another pitching duel, which overall has been the theme of this series. Even though we've had some decently high-scoring games, both pitching staffs have been really strong. Now Minnesota's going to look to get some damage going here in the 3rd. They lead off the inning with a single from Kenny Felsch. The sweet spot of the order due up. Opportunity to really get some damage done or not. 3-6-3. Double play off the grounder to first from Luis Gonzalez. Good job by Woody and Jazz to get the 2 outs. Carlos Correa now up the middle, base hit. The Twins have gotten 4 hits over the last couple of innings. Haven't been able to do anything with them yet. Can Byron Buxton change that here? Buxton has hit under 200 in the postseason, but he's starting to really turn it on here in the World Series, playing his best ball in this series. As sure enough, he gets another hit. That's 5 over the last 2 innings for Minnesota. At some point, they've got to get these guys in, right? Alex Kirilloff now ahead in the count, 2-1. Rips it up the middle. That'll go for a single. Runner looks to score. The throw from the plate from Wood is a beauty, but Correa is safe. And in fact, Minnesota does get on the board. A single from Alex Kirilloff, and it's 1-0. Brendan Rodgers into the gap. The offense keeps on coming. Buxton will score with no problem. Kirilloff rounds 3rd. Heads home. He's safe. Minnesota leads it 3-0. A big swing of momentum here for the Twins. Their offense was starting to roll, and finally, they get a couple big plays. Not a great start from Max Meyer, who only had allowed 3 runs through both of his first 2 postseason starts. Gentry with a sharp liner to first, 103 off the bat. Woody makes the play, but a big inning for Minnesota as they get 3, led by a 2-run double from Brendan Rodgers. So the Marlins got to respond here as we go into the bottom of the 3rd. Luis Rengifo chases the low changeup. Great pitch by Simeon Woods Richardson, who's continuing to pitch really well. Jacob Berry now, full count, draws a walk as he looks at the high and outside 2-seamer. And the Marlins got a runner on base here with 1 away. Top of the order back up. It's Kevin Alcantara, who's been one of Miami's most consistent players throughout the playoffs. Strikes out on the changeup. Alcantara had a couple hits in Game 2 of the World Series, but other than that, has been quiet in this series. Jazz Chisholm with 2 away. Shoots it into the gap. Chisholm had 2 big runs driven in the last game, and it looks like he'll get another one here. Berry scores from first, and the Marlins are on the board. An RBI double from Jazz Chisholm, and it's now 3-1. So the Marlins drive in a run as Isaac Stu now gets that one over the glove of Correa for a base hit. No throw from left. Jazz Chisholm scores, and the Marlins bring you within 1. It's now 3-2. All of a sudden, both offenses are coming alive. Nobody scored in the first 2 innings, barely any hits, and now both teams are piling on the waterworks. Woody Landry rips this one into the gap. It will one-hop off the wall. Isaac Stu thinks about going home. He will. Then he realizes his mistake, goes back to third. The Marlins are now in a pickle, and Stu is tagged out. A potentially wasted opportunity. Had the Marlins left Stu at third, they still drive in 2 runs, though. A big inning for offense, but it does feel like the Marlins could have gotten more there. Let's move into the 4th. Let's see if either one of these pitchers can pick things back up. It looks like Meyer will. He'll retire at the side. Kenny Felsch flies this one into center. It's caught by James Wood. 1-2-3 inning for Meyer after the Twins' offense exploded in the previous inning. Let's see if Simeon Woods Richardson will get the same luck. Brian De La Cruz leads off the inning here for the Marlins, and he rips this one up the middle for a base hit. De La Cruz continuing to hit the ball well. He kind of struggled in the first 2 games in Minnesota, but he's playing a lot better here. I feel like De La Cruz plays at his best at home. This seems to be where he's the most comfortable. James Wood hits it down the line and fair. All James Wood has done throughout the postseason is hit the ball. The Marlins learned from their mistake. De La Cruz is going to hold up at third, even though third base coach Tommy Lasorda was sending him for God knows what reason. With nobody out, that'd be the stupidest thing the Marlins could have done. Melendez checks his swing. Umpire says he went around. That's a big out for Simeon Woods Richardson. Luis Rengifo now, 2-2. Got him looking! Maybe the Marlins should have had De La Cruz go home. Maybe Tommy Lasorda was right. Now they need a base hit to potentially drive him in. Have no fear. Jacob Berry is here to save the day. Drops into left, right in the bucket. 2-run score. It's a 2-run double for Jacob Berry, and the Marlins lead 4-3. Berry had a big hit in Game 3, ironically to make the score 4-3. And deja vu repeats itself here in Game 4. Alcantara flies it into foul territory here with 2 away, and it will be caught at the foul wall in right field. Marlins get 2, though. They take the lead with a 2-run double by Jacob Berry as we move into the 5th. A pitching change for the Marlins. Max Meyer's day is done. They will go to the bullpen. Joe Shearer has been lights out in the postseason. No runs allowed. I think he's allowed like 3 or 4 base runners and around 8 innings of work. He does allow an early hit here, though, to Luis Gonzalez, and the Twins start the inning with a runner on. Carlos Correa now rips it into left. Alcantara will not make the play, and it looks like Minnesota's back in business. They got 2 guys on with nobody out. So far, a rough start here for Joe Shearer. That'll bring up Byron Buxton, the cleanup hitter, who's got a real good opportunity to potentially break this game wide open. One of the most important at-bats of the game so far, and he draws a walk. The bases are loaded. Rough showing from Joe Shearer. He just happened to have a bad day, clearly. He's been nails all postseason, but he allows 3 early runners, and the Marlins are not going to take their chances. They're going to bring in the all-star Camilo Doval to look to get the Marlins out of the jam. Kirilloff rips it into left. Alcantara with the over-the-shoulders catch. Nice defense. Run scores, though, off the sacrifice. We're tied at 4. Another runner makes it to third. If this ball is put on the ground, the inning's over. If it's hit sharply into play, Minnesota takes the lead. A strikeout works, too. And now Minnesota would need a base hit here from Gentry to drive in Correa. That's exactly what happens. He singles into center. Correa scores. And the Twins are back on top. It's now 5-4. Both teams really starting to trade punches. Here is Miranda into right. De La Cruz makes the play. The Twins add 2, though. Maybe the Marlins shouldn't have taken Meyer out. They obviously shouldn't have brought Joe Shearer in the game, who really struggled. Both of the earned runs will go against him. As we go to the bottom of the 5th, Minnesota will also be pulling the plug on their pitcher, Simeon Woods Richardson, and it'll be Giovanni Moran who comes in to replace him. I think Moran's pitched in every World Series game so far, and for good reason. He's done a great job. He does walk Woody Landry here with 2 away, and the Marlins get themselves a base runner. I would consider bringing up Jesus Sanchez soon. Maybe not here for De La Cruz, but I would soon. The problem is Moran is a lefty, as De La Cruz rips it up the middle for a base hit. Jesus Sanchez has hit lefties better than righties throughout the postseason, but analytically, that's not the smart decision. I would have probably brought him in here. We're not going to do so. James Wood will stay in the game as he hits this one high and pretty deep into left. It will ultimately be caught, though, and so the Marlins leave 2 runners on base. Should they have brought Sanchez into the game in hindsight? Maybe, as we go into the 6th. Brett Martin, the lefty, will come in for the Marlins. He has not been good really at all in the postseason, having allowed 3 runs in 3 games, only recording 4 outs in that stretch. His inning seems to be going well, but with 2 away, Luis Gonzalez singles into left. So the Twins get another base runner here, and again, this brings up the sweet spot of the order. Correa, Buxton, all these guys due up. That'll start with Correa. He's had a good game, 2 for 2 after a quiet game 3, as he pops it into right. De La Cruz makes the grab, and it'll remain a 5-4 ball game. Let's go to the bottom of the 6th inning here with Melendez and Rengifo, the 2 big lefty mashers due up. I'm curious to see if the Twins make a pitching change, and they do. They're going to take the lefty Moran out of the game, but interestingly, they're going to bring in a different lefty, Nino Cabral. I don't get the decision here. Why would you bring in a lefty pitcher with Melendez and Rengifo, the first 2 up? That starts with MJ Melendez, who singles into center. It's almost like you shouldn't have brought a lefty in against the guy who dominates left-handed pitching. The one guy on this roster who's even more impressive against lefties is Luis Rengifo. And he rips this one between the third baseman and the shortstop. Shocker, shocker. Both of the guys who dominate against lefties get hits. And Minnesota's decision here looks kind of stupid, clearly in hindsight. Jacob Berry now rips this one into the gap. Berry drove in 2 runs in his last at-bat. He might get 2 more. Melendez scores for the tie. Rengifo scores for the lead. A 2-run double for Jacob Berry, who has been so clutch today. He's driven in 4 runs in this game off of a pair of doubles after driving in what ended up being the winning run in the last game. And now the Marlins lead 6-5, as that'll bring us back to the top of the order. Kevin Alcantara launches it into left field. No doubt about that one. A 2-run blast for Alcantara. His 3rd postseason home run, and the Marlins add to the lead. It's now 8-5. The offense started off slow, but they are on fire since the 3rd inning, and they are really starting to click here. The decision to bring in a lefty, Nino Cabral, has clearly backfired as he doesn't record a single out. So now the Twins bring in Houston Webster, who they should have brought in to start the inning. Webster has not allowed any runs in the postseason. He was great in the regular season with an ERA of around 1 in 69 innings as Woody Landry lines it into right. And that one scrapes over the fence. Solo home run for Woody, his 6th of the postseason. And the former Marlin prospect, Houston Webster, allows his first postseason run. And it's Woody Landry, who lines a fastball out at the strike zone. That was not a bad pitch at all. It's just that Woody Landry mashes as he leads all players in baseball this year with 6 postseason dingers. De La Cruz now, high and deep and a right. At the track, at the wall, it is gone! What has gotten into this offense here in the 6th inning? They have dropped a 6 spot here on the Twins. 3 homers in this inning, back-to-back bombs from Woody Landry and now Brian De La Cruz, his 3rd homer of the postseason. And the Marlins are back in the double figures. It's now 10-5 with an unbelievable inning. Jesus Sanchez is going to come off the bench now, looking to make it 3 in a row as he hits it high and deep into the opposite field, but not deep enough. Still, what an inning for the Marlins. They drive in 6 runs, 2-run double for Berry, 2-run homer for Alcantara, and then back-to-back solo shots for Landry and De La Cruz. And all of a sudden, the Marlins are in the driver's seat, but there's still 3 more innings to go. Phil Bickford will come out of the bullpen here for the Marlins. Great in the regular season. Has been a lot shakier, though, in the postseason. He only allowed 5 runs all year, but he's allowed 3 in the postseason, and he starts by allowing a base hit here to Byron Buxton. The Twins know they can't afford to lose this game, so they're going to give it all they got, laying it on the line. They would need a 5-run comeback here within the next 3 innings, as Alex Kirilloff now singles into left, and the Twins start the inning with 2 runners aboard. A lot worse ways you could start the inning. Chase Gentry now rips this one into left. It's got Carey. It goes off the wall. 1 run scores. Second looks to join. The throw from Jazz Chisholm is just barely not in time. 2-run double for Gentry. It's now 10-7. Unfortunately, though, for Minnesota, Alex Kirilloff injures his arm sliding for home plate. He'll need to be replaced. Jose Miranda now up for Minnesota. Grounds this one over to Jacob Berry, who deflects it. Throw to first is not in time. So Minnesota now has driven in 2 runs this inning. They've got 2 guys on. The tying run's now at the plate. So enough of the mess. Bickford's going to be yanked. His rough postseason continues. And Johan Duran's going to look to get the Marlins out of this pickle. We'll start with Brooks Lee. Pops it up. Woody Landry is under it, and he will make the play for the 2nd out. Now that'll bring us to what I think is the biggest at-bat of the World Series so far. Back to the top of the order, Kenny Felsch, just 21 years old. Swing and a miss on the slider. Johan Duran gets out of the inning. The Twins get 2, but it feels like they could have gotten more. Marlins hold on to a 3-run lead as we go into the bottom of the 7th. The talented righty Dennis Santana comes out of the bullpen here for Minnesota. He has not allowed any postseason runs yet, although Minnesota's barely used him. MJ Melendez started the inning off with a base hit. That'll bring up Khalil Watson now coming in off the bench. He gets an infield hit as Correa is unable to make the play. And the Marlins start the inning with 2 runners aboard. That'll bring up Jacob Berry, who's been unbelievable today. He draws his 2nd walk of the game. He's reached base on all 4 plate appearances. And to think he was not on the postseason roster in the NLDS. The bases are now loaded, dear God, as Kevin Alcantara strikes out. There's no way the Marlins don't take advantage of this bases loaded opportunity, right? Right? Jazz Chisholm draws a walk. Good at bat. Run scores. It's now 11-7. Got to keep the ball in the strike zone, Dennis. Isaac Stu is now up. Base is still loaded. Stu hits it well into center. I think Buxton's going to make the play, but that's more than enough room to score the runner off the sacrifice. That's Watson. Berry's safe at 3rd, and it's now 12-7. The Twins make another pitching change. They're starting to run out of relievers as Genesis Cabrera, the lefty, will come out of the bullpen. He'll face off against Woody Landry, who has struggled against lefties at times throughout this season. 2-2. Woody hits this ball high and deep into right. Back at the track, at the wall. It's gone! 3-run homer for Woody Landry. His 2nd in as many innings. His 7th of the postseason. And the Marlins now have 15 runs today. They scored 6 in the last inning. They've gotten 5 here. That's 11 runs in the last 2 innings. It's weird because the Marlins offense has been inconsistent throughout the entire postseason, but they've now had games with 17 runs and 15 runs. De La Cruz hits it sharply to 2nd. Play is made, but the Marlins get another big offensive inning. The bats are on fire, and Fuego And because of that, the Marlins can use Gennaro Miller for hopefully the rest of the game. They still have some of their other relievers like Lopez and Clase available in the bullpen, but they don't think they're going to need them. They're up by 8 after all. And he will get through the 8th as he strikes out Connor Hollis, the injury replacement for Alex Kirilloff. Marlins would get nothing in the bottom of the 8th, so we're going to go to the top of the 9th. 2-1 for Brooks Lee with 1 away. Singles it into center. Run looks to score. Alcantara with a dime to the plate, but the runner is safe, and so it's 15-8. Kenny Felsch now crushes this ball into left. That one's gone. Are things getting interesting? It's now 15-11. Felsch's second home run of the postseason, end of the World Series. That's 26 combined runs now, over 30 hits for the two teams. The Marlins don't want any issues. They're going to take Gennaro Miller out of the game, and Reynaldo Lopez will look to finish things off for good. Gonzalez, liner to short. Jazz Chisholm makes the play, and the Marlins are 1 out away from leading the series 3-1. Chisholm off the grounder. Throw to first is in time, and the Marlins are 1 win away from winning the World Series as they defeat the Twins in an offensive shootout by the final score of 15-11. The 26 combined runs in this game is the second most in the history of the World Series, only trailing the Phillies and the Blue Jays. In the 1993 World Series, the Blue Jays won a game 15-14 with 29 total runs. It wasn't just all the runs these teams got, it was all the hits. 37 total hits in this game, 19 from Minnesota, 18 from the Marlins. That is a ridiculous amount of offense. Everybody was hitting the ball. If you had told me that we would have allowed 11 runs and 19 hits coming into the game, I would have said we're toast. Thing is, we scored 15. There's so many guys to shout out because so many guys played well. Woody Landry homered twice. Kevin Alcantara was making plays. Brian De La Cruz, 3 hits and a dinger. But the guy who deserves the shout out is Jacob Berry. He did not have a good season this year. He was, I think, second place for the dud of the year. He really was not good. He was not on the postseason roster to start the playoffs, but we brought him up for the NLCS. And here in the World Series, he's been unbelievable. He had the big hit in Game 3, and then here in Game 4, he goes 2 for 3, 2 doubles, 4 RBIs, and 2 walks. What a performance from Jacob Berry. And with that, the Marlins are 1 win away from winning the World Series. And guess who we've got on the mound in Game 5? Edward Cabrera. I am not going to say it's over, but the Marlins are in a good spot to finish off the job in the next episode. Game 5 of the World Series. Can Miami finally take home the title with our Cy Young MVP pitcher on the mound? Hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Certainly a fun one. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.